So in 1930, an author by the name of Arnold Monk, who wrote in the pen name Watty Piper, he penned and he published a children's book called The Little Engine That Could. And most of us are familiar with this story. If you're not familiar, you'll probably know at least the concept of the story. The story goes that there was a long train that was full of toys that needed to make its way up and over a high mountain in order to deliver the toys to the children that lived on the other side of the mountain. But there was only one problem. The long train did not have an engine, which meant that it couldn't go anywhere. It had no power to actually get up and over the mountain, so the long train full of toys, it started to ask around. To every engine that would roll by, the long train would ask, "Can you help me? Can you help me get up and over the mountain so that I can deliver these toys to the children?" And for a number of different reasons, every engine that rolled by said that it could not or would not help this train get over the mountain. But the request of the long train finally made its way to a small blue engine that by all physical appearances did not have what it takes, did not possess the size or the strength to be able to pull the long train up and over the mountain. But despite its seeming lack of strength and despite its small size, the engine hitched itself to the long train and decided to pull it down the tracks and up the mountain. And so as the engine began to ascend the mountain, it started to utter some of the most famous words ever written in all of children's literature. If you know the words, say them with me. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. Eventually, the little blue engine made its way all the way over the mountain and was able to help the long train get the toys to the children. Now, the moral of the story is that no matter how small you are and no matter how big the task, you can do whatever you set your mind to if you just try hard enough, and you don't need anybody else's help to do it. Now, it should be no surprise to us that this is one of the most popular children's stories that our culture has ever generated. We are a culture that prides ourselves on independence and self-sufficiency. I mean, our parents trained us from an early age to be independent so that by the time we reach age 18, we can get up out of their house and stop using up all of their money. But for those of us who want to follow in the way of Jesus, we're going to come up against a natural sort of tension that arises because of the ways that our culture has formed us in this regard. Because if we were to hold up Jesus next to our culture, and measure Jesus by our cultural standards, we would come to the conclusion that Jesus was the weakest person to ever live. Listen to some of the things that Jesus says about himself throughout the Gospel of John. John 5:19, Jesus says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of his own accord, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, that the Son does likewise." John 5:30, Jesus says, "I can do nothing by myself. I judge only as I hear, and my judgment is just, because I do not seek my own will, but the will of him who sent me." John 6:38, "For I have come down from heaven not to do my own will, but to do the will of him who sent me." John 8:28, "So Jesus said, when you have lifted up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am he, and that I do nothing on my own, but speak exactly what the Father has taught me." John 12:49-50, "I have not spoken on my own, but the Father who sent me has commanded me what to say and how to say it. And I know that his command leads to eternal life, so I speak what the Father has told me to say." But in his seeming weakness, Jesus accomplished more in 3 years of ministry than we'll ever accomplish in our lifetimes. See, the dominant metaphor in John 15 is that of a vine and its branches. I want you to picture the scene. Jesus gets up from the Passover meal with his disciples. They leave the upper room and they begin to make their way through the many vineyards of Jerusalem toward the Garden of Gethsemane. And as they're making their way, they pass through these vineyards, and all of a sudden, Jesus stops and he grabs a cluster of grapes in his hand, and he looks at them and he looks at his disciples, and he begins to say to them, "I am the true vine. My Father is the gardener. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch in me that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Already you're clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. When a branch is grafted into a vine, the first thing that a gardener has to do is the gardener will take the vine and it will actually cut right into the vine. It'll make a cut into the vine and take this branch and it will put it right into the cut of the vine and then wrap it up and seal it so what is called a structural union takes place. And the structural union is literally when the vine and the branch become one, when they begin to share in the same life together. But in order for that to happen, the branch first has to die to its own life before it can ever receive the life-giving, fruit-producing sap from the vine. And so when Jesus says to you, when he says to you and me, you are weak and you can't do it, it's not meant to be an insult, but it's meant to be a word that is spoken for our liberation. It's a word that's meant to set us free from the try harder, do more Christianity that only leads to frustration and burnout. So believe Jesus when he says to you, apart from me, you can do nothing. Because if things go well, then what happens? All the glory comes back to me. I can say, look how much I've accomplished. Look what I've done. Look how good I've been. But see, God is jealous for his own glory. God is jealous for his own glory. Like it says in Isaiah 42, God will not share his glory with another. And so if I was going to be a person in my life and ministry that would be bearing fruit to God's glory, I needed to embrace my weakness. See, some of you in here this morning, you're discouraged because when it comes to following Jesus, you seem to just keep failing. That addiction seems to keep getting the best of you. That anger seems to control you more than you thought it did. You're upset with yourself because you feel like you're apathetic and you don't want to engage with God in prayer. You don't want to dig into the scriptures. And you really just don't even really feel like being here this morning. You're just here because that's what you do. Or maybe there's a person in your life that has become extremely difficult for you to love, and you're at the point where you're just done trying. I said it before, and I'll say it again. God bless you. You are in a good place. You're in a place of recognizing how weak you are. Don't run away from that, but embrace it. Embrace it. Say, Jesus, I know I'm weak. And let that be the thing that drives you to Jesus. Let that thing that be the thing that drives you into the arms of your Father. See, Jesus isn't looking for strong people who think that they can do it. He's looking for people who know that they can't. See, Abraham said, I'm too old. I'm too old. And God said, that's okay. I'll bring new life through you. Moses said, I can't speak. And God said, just open your mouth wide and I will fill it. See, David said, I'm just a boy. And God said, that's okay. I'll be your strength. Jeremiah said, but I'm too young. And God said to Jeremiah, that's okay. I'll be your wisdom. The Apostle Paul said, but I've sinned far too much, Jesus. I've sinned way too much. And Jesus said, that's okay because my grace is sufficient for you. See, the message of John 15 is that all of us need to come to the place of saying, but I'm just a branch. I'm just a branch. So that Jesus can say to us, that's okay. I will produce the fruit through you. I will produce the fruit through you. Let the thing that you see as your weakness become the conduit through which the life and power of God flows in you and through you. Because God changes the world through people who know that apart from him, they can do nothing. The great author and theologian Henry Nouwen put it like this. He said, ministers, or that word just meaning servants, are powerless people who have nothing to boast of except their weaknesses. But when the Lord whom they serve fills them with his blessing, they will move mountains and change the hearts of people wherever they go.